Tao Meeting Archives, August 23rd, 2015. The Tao of Meditation. Stop, Breathe, and Think, by Ed Monaghan.
Let's go ahead and do the meeting beginning ritual, everyone. 起立，面向佛堂，参加三鞠躬、一鞠躬，再鞠躬，三鞠躬，参加各位点传师一鞠躬，开班一鞠躬，请坐下。Please be seated.
I want to say thank you to Bill for his presentation. Boy, it really, when I hear you talk, Bill, it really stirs a lot of thought in me and with similar experiences. One of which I appreciate was your description of following the path of Tao cultivation as compared to Buddhism or any other practice. And I liken that very much to, speaking of external arts, one of my teachers, Jerry Poteet, who was a direct student of Bruce Lee. In the martial arts world, Jeet Kune Do has become something of a catch-all to a lot of people, which kind of means mixed martial arts, being able to just do a variety, you sort of pick whatever out of whatever martial art and you stick it all together and that becomes Jeet Kune Do. And it has, it's very clear that that's actually not the case. And Jerry was very concerned with making sure that he passed on Bruce Lee's teachings intact so that he did not give any undue influence, excuse me, from his own perspective. And in doing so, because we offer, I used to fight in Thai boxing and before it was MMA, tough man contests and all that kind of stuff. And he, he would always say, you're teaching Jeet Kune Do, and Bruce believed in cross-training, but he said to make sure that whatever it is that you're cross-training in retains the integrity of its original form. So that if you're learning Thai boxing, pay homage to that art and treat it as such, but don't call it Jeet Kune Do because it's not. Likewise with Salat or Jiu-Jitsu or whatever the study happens to be. And, I see the clear similarity in that to what Bill was saying in different philosophical and spiritual practices, and giving reverence to those while at the same time appreciating the commonalities, which is something that we discuss frequently. And I also related very much to Bill's observation of being in the Midwest and the Eastern philosophy being a bit difficult to digest. Even though I'm in California, I'm in a relatively conservative community that is very heavily Christian based. I myself am Christian also, but it doesn't keep me from being able to practice Tao cultivation or Buddhism or Confucianism or whatever it is that I choose to study and practice. That's my own personal path and my own personal choice. But what I have found is that I seem to be able to do a pretty good job of taking the fear out of the study and practice and the benefits that can be gained from Taoist practice to people who are in the Christian community or Jewish community or whatever the community may be, simply because I've gone through this practice myself. My Buddhist teacher, Lama Gyatso, when I took the vows of refuge, which is a process of becoming Buddhist, before I did that, I sat down with Lama Gyatso and I said, okay, so I want to get something clear here. I also am Christian. I also believe in Jesus. I hope I'm not making anybody uncomfortable by talking about my own personal preferences here. But I just want to make sure it's all good. That when I take refuge, that's okay. Lama Gyatso said, "No problem." That was his primary comment. And then, of course, right after I took refuge, his very first comment to me was, "How could there possibly be a God in this world where we see so many things?" So immediately, the job of the Buddhist teacher is to infuse the seed of doubt into one's own practice. So I knew this, and I had great appreciation for it. But that's where I think the humor comes into play, because you have to have a bit of humor when you notice how these wonderful teachers apply their craft. So anyway, one other comment about Bill's. I'd like to also align myself with his thinking that the secret teachings exactly are that. I think on a twofold level, one of a physical nature, because yes, clearly people who are irresponsible and unable to restrain themselves and don't have the proper moral compass should not be allowed to know how to harm other people. Um, is that a judgment on my part? Yeah, because my experience has been that when you equip people with that type of knowledge base, they do stupid things with it. And I think that's evidenced through the fact that we see a lot of now in law enforcement, because I have a lot of contact with law enforcement and have done a lot of training for law enforcement. Now, with the heavy practice of MMA, with no moral guidelines typically attached to that, turning out a bunch of young guys who don't have any restraint, and they're very dangerous when they're non-compliant in law enforcement in situations where law enforcement has to somehow make them comply. So as a result, these situations can move into the realm of deadly force much faster than they ever did previously because people know how to fight. Again, that's my personal observation, but I think it would be corroborated by a lot of the law enforcement folks that I work with. And so therefore, using proper restraint before teaching people when they've developed the capacity to have a sense of moral guidelines and restraint, only reasonable. On a secondary level, I think that a lot of times when we approach spiritual teachings, it's not that they should be held secret. It's just that a wise teacher, as I have observed my teachers, kind of take you step by step. And sometimes I've found that I haven't been ready to receive a particular teaching. So my teachers have kindly and gently guided me through the process to where I came to my own realizations, my own revelations, and that further aided me in the process of moving forward to where I was capable of hearing what they had to say on down the line. So I think there's a reason for that degree of restraint when it comes to keeping certain teachings secret, because before you evolve to the point where you can hear it and understand it, you're just not quite there yet. So having said that, I'm going to wrap into the final discussion on meditation that I'd like to bring you. And of course, we could go on forever about different forms of meditation because it's a rather in-depth study that takes quite some time. But I've hopefully provided a bit of an overview. And I was speaking with a friend of mine who is also one of the Lama Gyatso's students this week. His name is Jamie Price, and she developed an app which is based on the Lama's program of Tools for Peace, which is a wonderful program that was developed by him to aid teens in the process of developing a compassionate mindset. And they have a wonderful camp every year in Tehachapi where Ari Bodh, which is the retreat, the Tibetan retreat, I just volunteered for it for next year. And it's just a terrific experience for the kids who come there. So that was kind of the seed of this, which later turned to how does one disseminate these practices of meditation to a broader populace. And one of Jamie's ideas, along with another member of the Sangha, whose name is Katie Lang, the country singer, was to develop an app called Stop, Breathe, and Think. And I found this to be extraordinarily useful when, especially with my UCLA students, because maintaining a meditative practice for them is really a challenge to carve themselves out a particular time of day when they're able to just sit and be still. So this app is a wonderful tool where it's completely non-denominational, and I've got up on my computer screen here if you just search it, you'll come up with the same thing. Click on the home page where you can download it either for the phone, your iOS system, or an Android system, or you can do it as a web-based application. And I thought that I would just go through here and show you as best I can. I have not done this on the website, so I'm hoping it'll work for our presentation here. This terrific little app. So if we go to the web-based application, it talks about how with a little practice you can create your own personal force field of calm and peace. And who doesn't want a force field? I personally really like these drawings of the little animals and people. Did you know that you can literally rewire your brain for the better? This app helps you to do just that, and it isn't brain surgery. After a few weeks, you should feel more balanced and ready to take on the biggest dreams and goals. So then we move into let's do this. I'm going to do the just browsing version because I'm already I've already got this on my phone, but I don't even know what my login is. So we'll do this. Is this for a school? Let's say no. And I'm just going to put in my age for the sake of argument, which is 53. So what you come here is, how are you? There's a little check-in. And this is a root of some of the Vipassana practice where you do, well, we'll see. So close your eyes, and why don't we walk through one of these just so you get a feel for it. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and think about how your mind and body feel. I see there's this nice little ding, this little meditation bell that tells you to move forward. Now, it gives you a mental check-in. So mentally, how do you feel? Let's say we're having a kind of meh day. I like that one too, right in the middle. So if you say meh, that means I'm not too good, not too bad. Physically, how do we feel? Well, let's say we've been practicing our Qigong. We feel good. Now, we're going to look at emotionally, how do we feel? So if you look on this left-hand side, you'll see overall our kind of scope of emotions, and you can pick a face that suits you. I talked with Jamie last week, and she said by far, the most chosen of these is anxious. So anxious, worried, concerned. Let's say we'll just pick another one here. We'll say we're caring and we're compassionate. So these are the 5 that we've chosen. And then you hit see results. Get your little contemplative computer there. And you can see that what this will bring up for you are different types of meditations that you can plug in. And these are all guided. Now, I'm not going to try to do this for the mere reason that we experienced last time when I was trying to stream something. Seems to be kind of a hitch in the system when we double it up and try to go from the computer. But these are wonderful guided meditations, some with Katie who lead them, and most of with Jamie who lead them. At least I think it's her voice on there that does it. And they are all teachings from Lama Gyatso. And again, these are non-denominational, so I don't think most of our folks would be concerned with it. But, one of the things that I get pretty frequently, because we've got a lot of folks who go to church up here, Christian church, is that they feel that when they're meditating or being led through some sort of Eastern practice, that it can be somehow sacrilegious, that it's somehow worshiping the Buddha or worshiping false gods, false idols. So one of the reasons when we installed the shrine at our facility that we left the figurines out of the equation, as Derek has mentioned before, is that the Tao is distinctly open when it comes to this type of practice. It's one of the things that was very appealing to me about it. And, we didn't want anyone's preconceived notions of other faiths to somehow color their ability to experience this wonderful openness and these wonderful wisdom-based teachings that we experience in the Tao. So these are a terrific complement to that because they give you a very specific method by which you can follow a meditative practice. You can see they're quite short. There are longer ones, and I think there are some of them on here where you can buy extended ones and things like that, but they're all cheap, 99 cents and things like that. And all of this is donated to charity. It goes right back it's a nonprofit organization that runs it. And so my students at UCLA, because most of them tend to be very oriented to the smartphone, find that this is something that complements their day-to-day life-based activities. So rather than something that is a bit far afield, which is like meditation, sitting down, being still, performing these practices on a regular basis, that they're really used to being able to punch up an app on their phone and just pushing a button and having it do whatever it does. So this falls into line with that practice. So it's very simple for them to actually sit someplace, be still, and push that button and make the thing go, and it leads them to their own practice. So my perspective is, however you get there, it's all good. So I hope that was useful to you, and some of you might find this useful as well as a practice for yourself. If not, I hope that you are certainly maintaining some type of meditative practice. As Bill said, my path to this came via the Marshall path, and but I was always aware of this other and most important part of the physical practice, which is this connection to the spirit. And that's what I always yearned for. I'll tell you, from the time I was a young guy watching Bruce Lee movies and Kung Fu, the TV series, I always wanted to be like Kane. I wanted to be like the peaceful monk who was. Oops, turn that down. I always wanted to be like the peaceful monk who could handle any situation by diffusing the aggressive negative energy and still maintain my cool and calm composure. I don't think I've quite reached that yet, but that's what I aspire to, and these teachings are the things which allow me to do that. As cartoonish as it was at the time, the Kung Fu TV series was really the first exposure that a lot of people in the West had to the whole idea of the Shaolin Temple, what that entailed, and I think made a substantial impact in the world of martial arts. And as Bill observed, a great deal of those types of teachings have been eliminated simply because of the fear factor, I think, and perhaps that a lot of the teachers who are now teachers were taught by a teacher who were not privy to those deeper levels of meaning also. So, in my opinion, you miss quite a lot when you're just dealing with the physical stuff, some of which you figure out on your own. The majority of which, though, it's very useful to have a teacher that can lend guidance. I know this from my own practice. I have the opportunity to go with my teacher, my Qigong teacher, Master Zhou, to China from the 10th to the 24th of October, and he's taking us. His uncle was a monk at Wudong Mountain, and that's where he began his practice when he was a little boy. And he's going to take us to Wudong to practice there, and we're going to a variety of places throughout China, but I'm really excited to be able to go because I've never been, and especially to be able to go with him as a guide and to practice with him is a very special opportunity and journey for me. So I'm really looking forward to it, and enjoy the opportunity to go with someone who is more learned than I, and to have that information passed down to me. So with that, thank you guys for listening to me this week, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Let's go ahead and do the meeting closing ritual. 起立，面向佛堂，持架深鞠躬，一鞠躬，再鞠躬，三鞠躬，持架各位点传世一鞠躬，结班一鞠躬。Okay, guys, we are done.
Join the Tao meeting live to participate in the questions and commentary. For more information, go to http://taoism.net/tao/connect-online.